There is always work to be done to continue staying ahead of your league mates on the waiver wire. Just think back to last week. Think about if you had stashed Colston Loveland before his big breakout game against the Cincinnati Bengals. You would have a potential league winner at the position rest of season that your league mates wouldn't have had access to on the waiver wire this week. So we're going to help you stash those exact kind of players this week. My name is Lucas Wencl here with FantasyPros, bringing you my top 5 waiver wire stashes ahead of week 10 and next week's waiver run as well. Before we dive on into that list of players, though, we've got a special deal going on for you all right now. Unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for free. Download the Betting Pros app today and use promo code FP1month. Get access to tools like the Same Game Parlay tool, the Prop Bet Analyzer, and the Prize Picks Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Don't miss out. Try it 100% free for 1 month now, available both on iOS and Android. Starting off our list this week is Jacksonville Jaguars running back Bhayshul Tuten, who is rostered in 26% of leagues. It is that time of the year where we are going to start really prioritizing handcuff running backs. And specifically, I love targeting these high upside rookie running backs to keep at the end of my bench. We didn't get this instant post-bye rookie bump for Bhayshul Tuten that some were really hoping for. Travis Etienne still got 27 touches against the Raiders. On the bright side, though, it was Bhayshul Tuten who was subbed in at the 1 yard line to score a touchdown ahead of Travis Etienne against the Raiders. Now, I'm certainly not looking to make the claim that Bhayshul Tuten is all of a sudden the goal line guy for Liam Cohen, right? That is not Bhayshul Tuten's archetype whatsoever. But there is room for Tuten, I think, even before a potential breakout, to have some standalone value here in Jacksonville. Prior to the Jaguars' Week 8 bye, Travis Etienne was struggling. It was 3 tough matchups, I'll give him that. But 12 for 49 against Kansas City, 12 carries for 27 yards against Seattle, 8 carries for 44 yards against the Los Angeles Rams. My point in bringing up those games is basically to say that Etienne isn't bulletproof here, right? Like, all it could take is for Bhayshul Tuten to outplay Travis Etienne in 1 or 2 games, and all of a sudden, we're starting to see an expanded role for Bhayshul Tuten. Not to mention, if anything does happen to Travis Etienne, Bhayshul Tuten is first in line to play lead back duties for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Liam Cohen. So on the chance we start getting more explosives from Bhayshul Tuten over the back half of the season, I definitely want to keep him stashed at the end of my bench. The second player on our list this week is Arizona Cardinals running back Emari Demercado, who is rostered in 15% of leagues. Predicting the Arizona Cardinals backfield right now feels entirely like a game of roulette. After Trey Benson goes down, it's Michael Carter. Well, Michael Carter, really wasn't good enough, so I guess it's going to be Bam Knight. But we definitely know it's not going to be Emari Demercado after his brainless fumble out of the back of the end zone. But wait, it was Emari Demercado who led the Cardinals running backs in touches against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football this past week. At this point, just stash Emari Demercado because we know he's explosive. He had 2 runs of 15-plus yards against the Cowboys last week, and since Trey Benson has been out, Emari Demercado is actually 3rd in explosive run rate of all running backs in the NFL. Even when Trey Benson does return from injury, I'm not 100% convinced they just give the backfield right back to Trey Benson. My guess is that they'll probably want to ease him back into action, especially after a meniscus injury in his knee, and the Cardinals right now only have a 4% chance of making the playoffs. If they plan on molding Trey Benson into their running back of the future, why rush him back and overload him right away when he comes back this season? Again, I know Emari Demercado isn't this super sexy stash, but my guess is that there's a role for him in Arizona both before and after Trey Benson returns from injury. The third player on our list is Los Angeles Rams running back Blake Corum, who is also rostered in 15% of leagues. Blake Corum has now handled 25 carries across his last 2 games, which is only 4 less carries than he's accumulated through the first 6 games of this season. Justin Edwards over at 4 for 4 points out that over the last 3 games, Kyron's share of the backfield has dipped to handling only 52.6% of the team's carries compared to 66.7% through the first 5 weeks. So what has changed now that Blake Corum is all of a sudden starting to become more involved? I think the first big thing is game script we have to consider, right? Justin also points out that the Rams have outscored their opponents 80-26 over their last 3 games. 80-26. if you're playing with a confident lead, there is no need to burn the tread on Kyren Williams, so it makes sense that you're giving Blake Corum more opportunities here. The Rams are also playing really good ball this year, so I also wouldn't be surprised if that continues against teams like the 49ers, the Panthers, and Cardinals that they have coming up in their schedule. The second thing I have to question, though, is if there's finally a philosophy change, that Sean McVay is starting to embrace here. He had mentioned this offseason, wanting to emulate what Liam Cohen was doing in Tampa Bay last year with Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. Now, I am not drawing direct parallels there whatsoever, but what if we are starting to get more of a split backfield here between Kyren Williams and Blake Corum? Regardless if that's the case or not, Blake Corum is one of the most valuable handcuffs on a team scoring 26 points per game this season. So similar to Bhayshul Tuten, if anything does happen to Kyren Williams, Blake Corum is next man up, and he definitely has the ability to emulate what Kyren Williams is already providing this Rams offense. Up next on our list, we have New Orleans Saints wide receiver Devaughn Vele, who is rostered in 3% of leagues. And I can hear your groans through your computer screens right now that I am putting a New Orleans Saints wide receiver on here. But look, someone needs to fill the void of Rashid Shaheed after he was traded to the Seattle Seahawks at the trade deadline. Like, respect to Brandon Cooks for the career he's had, but I certainly don't think it's going to be him at 32 years of age. And I should probably be careful in how I phrase this too, because by no means am I talking about a direct one-for-one replacement for Rashid Shaheed here. But do you realize what the Saints gave up to acquire Devaughn Vele this offseason? On August 20th, the New Orleans Saints traded a 2026 fourth-round pick and a 2027 seventh-round pick to the Denver Broncos for Devaughn Vele. A fourth-round pick for Devaughn Vele. Up to this point, the investment has seemed absolutely foolish, right? Vele was playing as the wide receiver 4 on this team, essentially. But last season, while he was still in Denver, we did see him put up 5 top 30 weekly finishes at the position in the 12 games that he played. I also don't want to put too much stock into this, but Devaughn Vele did have a 100% true catch rate on catchable targets last season. So if the ball is within his vicinity, he does have very reliable hands. Look, what I'm really trying to say here, though, is that someone has to eat up the snaps that Rashid Shaheed is leaving behind, and my pick is going to be Devaughn Vele based on the capital they invested into him. It won't be pretty because it is the New Orleans Football Saints, but if you are desperate in the deepest of leagues and you just need a dart throw wide receiver stash, Vele should be available, and I really think you could do worse. The last player on our list this week is Miami Dolphins tight end Greg Dulcich, who is rostered in 0% of leagues. And this one is genuinely baffling to me that nobody has thought about picking up Dulcich after catching all 5 of his targets for 49 yards against the Ravens last week on Thursday Night Football. The case isn't hard to make for Greg Dulcich here because all you have to do is look back on what Darren Waller was doing for this team before he landed on IR in weeks 4 through 6. Of all tight ends to run at least 25 routes during those 3 weeks, again, weeks 4 through 6, his average depth of target, Darren Waller, was at 11.8 yards. That was third of all tight ends. He had a 25% air yard share. That was third of all tight ends. He drew 4 red zone targets, which was second to only Trey McBride. And he was averaging 13.6 points per game, which was tight end 4 at the time. So you also factor in the lack of Miami Dolphins pass catchers here. You've got Waddle. You've got Devon Achane. You've got like a kind of meaningless dash of Malik Washington at this point, but that's about it. That's all you've got here. Again, in deep leagues, it has to be worth throwing a dart on Greg Dulcich in my mind, considering how flimsy the tight end position is week in and week out. So again, in 0% of leagues, Greg Dulcich is still floating out there, no matter your league size. Alrighty, y'all, that is it. Those are my top 5 waiver wire stashes ahead of week 10. Make sure you go sprint to the waiver wire. Make sure none of these guys are still available in your leagues. Greg Dulcich especially. My gosh, 0% of leagues. He is definitely available out there. Before I sign off here, though, remember, we have a special deal going on for you all right now. Unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for free. Download the Betting Pros app today and use promo code FP1month. Get access to tools like the Same Game Parlay tool, the Prop Bet Analyzer, and the Prize Picks Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Don't miss out. Try it 100% free for 1 month now, available both on iOS and Android.